Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this one, if you could just hit that button down below, that would massively help me out. Also, if you want to help me out as well, you can go and look at the Leeds United icon range in the link up in the cards or in the description. You'll see it on screen as well. And if you use my link down in the description or in the cards, I will get a small affiliate kickback at no extra cost to you. Today's video, we're going to kind of be talking about Leeds United in general, in terms of our attacking creativity, because it's been a big talking point. Now, the transfer window is over and we didn't manage to get Harry Wilson, we didn't manage to get any other creative players on deadline day or even in the days before that. So we are stuck with the squad we've got. So take that aside. Obviously, we would prefer to have more players, but we can't get them in the door now unless we go out and get some free transfers. But if we're just looking at the squad we have, today's video is basically going to be talking about where do some of those goals come from. And primarily, I want to talk about what Dominic Calvert-Lewin adds that Metcha and Piroux don't add to the squad. So, first of all, Metcha I thought was actually really good in that first half against Newcastle. But his attacking runs aren't good enough to create space and create chances for himself on his own. A creative player and our kind of attacking wingers and midfielders can only do so much in terms of creating chances. There has to be a tit-for-tat exchange that the striker has to make the runs to make it possible for good passes forward into creative areas. So what I mean by that, you'll see now on the screen, we've got one of the chances that Leeds had against Newcastle. Jack Harrison bringing the ball out from left back and Leeds springing a bit of a counter-attack. You can see here that in this position, usually where we've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the halfway line, essentially, but with those three defenders, he's actually further towards the opposition goal than all of them. Joel Piroux, I feel, would be probably between the lines there, deeper than the actual defenders. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin, first of all, he plays on the last man. When we skip to the next slide, you can see here that Jack Harrison carries the ball forward a little bit more. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, as he's sprinting towards goal, he always tries to make sure that he's in enough space. And you can see from that he's actually found himself in a gap between two of the centre-backs and opened up quite a large space for himself. You can see that he's purposely peeled off the defenders to sit between the two centre-backs to make sure that he's got enough room to operate in if he is to go and score. And you can see by the time the ball actually comes to him, his touch wasn't quite good enough in the end and it let him down. And there's a little bit of kind of rustiness in there. But the fact that he could actually get into the positions that he got into is a really, really promising sign for Leeds United, because it means that eventually those chances will result in goals. So yeah, that first one is basically playing on the break, playing on the halfway line, making sure he's always on the last man and making sure that he doesn't make dumb runs. He makes intelligent runs that give him the space to do what he needs to do. Second chance then is, again, against Newcastle, right at the end. It was the last shot that he had on target. You can see from this first slide here that Bogle's carrying the ball forward over on the right-hand side. He's got an overlap of Brendan Aronson, I think it is. But what happens here is, if that's Joel Piroux or Lucas Metcha, I feel like they pretty much stay in the position that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is in this first picture here. And what that means is that Bogle will have to make the option or make the pass out wide to Aronson on the overlap so that Metcha or Piroux, whoever it is between them, would go and find themselves a space in the box to try and wait for the cross to come in. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin doesn't do that. You can see here that he's in the blind spot of Dan Burn. So what he instead decides to do is make a run to the other side of him. You can see at this point, Burn has just realised that Dominic Calvert-Lewin has made this run, and he's kind of flailing an arm out behind him to try and stop Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because of his intelligence of his run and the kind of double movement, he's come back and then he's gone forward. he's given himself momentum to be able to get past the defender, because the defender's going to have to go, oh God, I need to sprint now. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin already being on the sprint is what gives him the room to run into that half space there. And that gives Bogle the option to play forward early to him and for him to actually be able to get in the box and get a shot off. Shot wasn't fantastic, and the positioning in the end was quite a difficult place to take a shot from. But it's still very important that we notice where he is and that he has made that run. Because in other situations, when you're running from out to in, say if he was out on the left-hand side and he ran in, he might get a more central role in other games to get a better shot off. This last clip is against Sheffield Wednesday, and of course, lower league opposition. You could say that you don't need to put as much into it, as much thought into it. Like it's easier against these, but they defended very well for 90 minutes. But what I want to highlight in this one is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin makes the space for Okafor. So it's not just about Dominic Calvert-Lewin making these runs to receive the ball himself. It's about him making the runs to allow other players space in behind. So you can see where he starts here, the number 9. Longstaff receives the ball from the defence, and he turns on it and he looks ahead of him. He's got quite a few yards of space around him, to be honest. But we can see where Calvert-Lewin starts. And it's actually a bit similar to the last one. He kind of carries on behind the defender, the number 30 there. And you can see, just as this screenshot here is coming up, that Joël Peru is an option for Longstaff. And also Okafor is trying to make a run down the wing. So take note of that. What Dominic Calvert-Lewin is, you can tell that he's shifting his weight to go the other way. So when Longstaff decides to eventually make that pass to Joël Peru in the number 10 position, Calvert-Lewin's already made a run inside to try and get on the blind spot of the defender, much like he did in the last example. But what that has allowed for is that when he comes inside and goes beyond him, this defender is going to see him in his eye line, follow him, and open up more space for Okafor at the bottom of the picture. And you can see here that because he's done that, that hasn't done that very same thing. You can see number 30, he's the only player who's kind of blurred in this situation because he's gone, oh God, Calvert-Lewin's just ran past me, I've got to go after him, much like what Dan Burn did. And it's allowed Joël Peru the space to find a pass through. You can see as well, he's kind of realised his mistake as well, the number 30, and thought, I better go and close down Peru. But that's actually opened up an option for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to receive the ball, as well as Okafor. In the end, of course, it's Okafor who receives it, and it wasn't a great shot on goal. But you can see from this that those type of runs, it's not just about what the midfielders and what the wingers can provide in terms of creativity. It's about your striker making intelligent runs to try and open the space for himself, and also open the space for his teammates to be able to run into and get shots off on goal. So I thought it was important to kind of encompass this a little bit in a video. Yes, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not the most amazing signing in the world, but he's got Premier League pedigree, and his ability to make runs is really, really good. And if he can get his finishing up to scratch, which we know he's capable of, he could be a really, really good attacking asset for Leeds. Of course, he hasn't had a full kind of pre-season with Leeds, and he left Everton, was without a club for a little while. So there was obviously that period where he didn't have a club and wasn't fully training at the intensity he was supposed to be. But now that he's got this international break and he should get a little bit of time to bed in, I fully expect him to be the guy that starts games from now on. Potentially the Fulham game, and maybe after that. I think he's going to be the guy to start games, because I think you get so much more out of him in terms of chance creation. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Mecha and I like Peru for different circumstances. Mecha was really good in that first half against Newcastle because it allowed us, when Perry was playing those long balls forward, he was backing into the defender, he was swinging legs at it left and right, and seemed to keep managing to pass it to teammates. So his hold-up play is really good, Mecha, and when he gets in front of goal, you expect him to finish. It's just that his movement isn't always quite good enough to get him there. And then you've got Peru, who's the opposite again, really good in the build-up, doesn't necessarily get on the end of things all the time, but when he does, he's got the ability to finish. So I'm taking positives here that are Strike Force, whilst it's not the most impressive in the world and it's not the most exotic, it is quite well equipped to provide different things for us in different scenarios. So that's what I kind of think at the moment. Of course, I'm not just trying to cope because we haven't signed anyone. I know that we haven't signed anyone. So I'm saying what we've got, this is how it can do it. I would have preferred to sign Demirovic because I think he would be getting on the end of things way more than any of these strikers. But because we haven't, these are the positives to take from the strikers that we actually have. Thanks for watching Leeds lately. Let me know what you think of these kind of tactics videos down below in the comments. Stay subscribed to the channel, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.